Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca Taylor Hall. I am the Fostering Recruitment Manager for the London Borough of Sutton. So we're doing this video today just to give people a bit more information about fostering and also to introduce you to Georgia, who is one of our care experienced young adults who is happy to share some information about her experiences of being in care. Hi Georgia, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself?
Oh yeah. Hi, so my name's Georgia. I'm 25 years old. I went into foster care when I was 11. I've had 3 foster placements, one that was long term, but then didn't work out. So I went to a short term placement, and then my final placement was long term, and I've been with my foster parents for 14 years now.
My first question, in terms of your foster family who you've been with for so long, tell us a little bit about them. What are they like? What are they like as a foster?
So they've always been really nice. My foster mum is a teacher, so she works in the borough, which actually led me to them becoming a teacher myself. And my foster dad's always worked locally as well. I think in terms of good qualities, they've always been like good listeners, always been really patient. In the first year that I was placed with them, I was probably quite tricky because of some of my background, in terms of I always got on really well with Graham, because I had a positive relationship with my dad. But sometimes I found Christine a bit too motherly, and I wasn't really used to that. So they had to be quite patient with me, and in terms of like some of my behaviours and stuff. So I'd say that's really important. And just being really kind and loving, really. They've always treated me like I was their daughter, like they never had like lower expectations or anything like that. So yeah, always just been really nice and just like a normal family, really.
And did they have any children of their own?
Yeah, so they have a daughter, Natalie, who actually passed away when she was 20 of meningitis. And then they have their son, James, who is now 34. So when I first moved in with them, James was actually at university. So it's quite interesting, because I have siblings of my own, and I'd always been around children and lived with other children. To then go to the placement initially, and there wasn't any children, it was just myself. So that was quite different, kind of adapting to kind of being like an only child, and things like that. But it got to a point where I actually asked, and they had the capacity to have more foster children. So I was like, oh, can we foster other children as well? Which was really nice. Like, it's been a positive experience, but it's also been a challenge as well, because obviously everybody has different backgrounds and things. So I'd say that's probably one side that was a little bit challenging. But other than that, it's always been really nice. Yeah.
What do you think makes a good foster carer? What qualities do you think you found good for you?
Just being like kind and loving. I think some foster children need quite a lot of reassurance, maybe because people have let them down and things like that. So just kind of having that consistency of always having somebody around and somebody to talk to. I think having high expectations. That when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a hairdresser, which Chris and Graham wouldn't have had any problem with. But they were just like, oh, like you could be whatever you want to be, kind of thing. And then but just having like first experiences, like I hadn't had any pets at home, and at their house they had a dog, and just having like family days out and holidays abroad. Like they took me on my first holiday abroad and on a plane, and it was really nice actually, because they let my biological cousin come as well. So it was nice, and it's always been like a merge of the two families that is kind of just all one big family, which is really nice.
What is there anything that you think isn't so helpful, kind of when you've come into care or when you're within a foster family? Were there any traits that you thought weren't as helpful for you?
Not necessarily. I think maybe respecting someone's boundaries and kind of understanding the relationship to start with. You obviously have to build upon that. So like I said previously, Chris is really huggy and like so motherly that she just wanted to love, and I was just like, oh, like no, not used to that. kind of backed away from her. So she kind of ended up obviously respecting that. So within that first year, it was kind of quite testing. But then after that, it's just about building a relationship with the people that you live with, really.
When you were with your foster family, I understand that you still had contact with your birth family, so your dad and other members of the family. How did that work? How was that for you?
So it's obviously different dependent on the circumstances. My siblings were adopted, so when that went through court, it was agreed that I could see them 6 times a year, which used to take place on like outside visits, so maybe at a farm or at a park or bowling. So we did kind of contact that way. Then with my parents, when it took place at the contact centre when I was younger, it was about every 2 weeks for about 2 hours. And then with my aunt, I also had contact every kind of school holidays. And then as I got older, the contact kind of got decided between ourselves and then where we would go, I don't know, up my nan's for the afternoon, or we kind of do stuff like that. Now I see my siblings whenever we're available. We're at that age now.
So it's something that kind of carried on. It's not like as soon as you came into care, you stopped having any contact with family or anything like that. You had quite a lot with quite a few of you members of your family.
Yeah, which was always really nice. I think it's important, obviously, if you can kind of keep up that contact and whatnot, that it's really important for children in care to still try to maintain a relationship.
Mm-hmm. And you still have those relationships now, so
yeah, no, definitely.
I guess one of the things that sometimes some of our new foster carers worry about is that first kind of contact of meeting with them coming to the house, and the first time that they're going to stay overnight at their house and things like that. And quite often people will say to us, what's the best thing that we can do to welcome them? Because sometimes people want to go really over the top and do loads of different things. And obviously for each child it's different. But what are your thoughts on that? How do you think some of our carers could welcome some of our children?
I think it depends. So initially when I first met Chris and Graham, because my placement prior to them was only short term, so I already knew that I was only going to be there for a few months or so, and that obviously then I was going to be settling with a long-term family. So when I initially met them, they came and visited me at my other foster placement. I think they came for like a cup of tea, so we got introduced. So it was quite nice to see the different foster parents kind of merging together. And then I met them in Beddington Park, which was the first time I met their son James, which was nice. He came back from university for the evening and was cycling in the park and then kind of bumped into us, which was really nice. And then when I went to stay there overnight for the first time, they let me choose what film I wanted to watch and asked me what my favourite food was, which was really nice. So they were able to kind of give me my favourite food, and somewhere that's just really calm, and it was really nice. Like I said, they had Billy the dog, so kind of went outside with Billy and just things that can engage them really, and knowing what the child likes. So if they like games, then you might suggest having like a games night when they come round, or watching a film or watching sports. So just doing something that they're going to enjoy, I think is nice, and it makes them feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And did you find it helpful that they kind of did the whole family approach with James as well, so that you could get to know them?
Yeah, so I think it was really nice that it was kind of all the people that lived in the house were there around that time, and then it didn't bombard me too much. And then when I did kind of get introduced to the rest of the family, they'd already sent like little cards saying like welcome to the family, and they drew like pictures of themselves, and inside were pictures of them. So Chris's sister lives out in Greece, so they sent me a postcard from Greece where they live, and included like pictures. And it was just really nice because it was never like they were a foster family. Like when they signed it, it was like from auntie, from uncle, and like cousin. So it wasn't like it was any different to how a normal family's perceived, which was nice.
I was just going to ask if you've got any particular memories of being in care that that are special to you or positive for you, or things that you look back on and kind of think, oh, that really made a difference?
I think just knowing that you have kind of people there that really do care for you. And like I was saying before, their expectation was never different of me because I was fostered. I was always treated like I was one of their own. And even now, like when I go over to see them and things, I call them mum and dad, because I've been with them for so long. Their son James has children and they always call me Auntie Georgia, which is really nice. Probably like going on like family holidays and like day trips, kind of like fun things. But then also them being there for you in like not so good times. So if you'd kind of struggled on an exam, and I actually went to university a lot later than everybody did in my kind of school year. And they were not disappointed in me, like they didn't want to rush me to do anything I didn't want to do. So they respected my decision, but then also still had the high expectation that, okay, look, you might choose to not go this year, but you can go next year and kind of explore different options. So I think actually then having them there at my graduation, and at my graduation I had Chris, Graham and James, but then I also had my biological dad. So that was really nice, just kind of making sure that you maintain that relationship between kind of biological family and foster family. And yeah, my dad's always been really good with stuff like that as well, because they have a good relationship. If I'd ever rang my dad and said, like, I'd had an argument with Chris or an argument with Graham, he would be kind of respectful more of them and be like, well, they're your parents, they're looking after you, so you have to do what they say. So I think, yeah, just making sure that you have that bond and that relationship with the child as a whole and everything that kind of accompanies them.
I was just going to ask you a question. You've spoken about it a couple of times now, just in terms of holidays. Did you start going on holidays sort of quite soon after you were placed with Chris and Graham, or did that change?
So I was placed with them in August 2007. And then, so when I first went to them, we had like a weekend down in the New Forest. And then in the August of 2008, was when they took me on my first holiday to Greece. And then since then, they love going on holidays. So yeah, so every year kind of since then, like we've been to Santorini, to Corfu, to Crete, to Lanzarote, which again was quite an experience, because when we went to Lanzarote, that was when the Icelandic volcano erupted. So we actually got stuck there for an extra week, which me and my foster sister at the time, we weren't too pleased about. We were like, oh, we're going back to school, like we don't want to be stuck here. But Chris and Graham remained really calm, and they enjoyed it very much because we got put up in a 5-star hotel for free. So they made the most of the experience. But no, we've always had really fun kind of family holidays to centre parks and things as well. So yeah, it's always been really nice.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, or any advice you want to give to potential foster carers?
I think obviously some kind of foster carers might not have a freak out, but I think usually when children get to 18, they're a bit like, oh, what happens now? So under the Stay and Put kind of programme, I ended up staying with Chris and Graham up until a few months ago when I actually moved out and got my own place. So that was really nice. So we had like an agreement where I'd pay a certain amount of rent to them, and that would cover like my food, the electricity, and things like that. So that was always really handy. And then when I went off to university, the leaving care team then paid my rent for me, because I remained at home. They paid Chris and Graham what they would have paid for halls.
Right.
So that was really handy at the time as well. And then, yeah, so just when I was employed, because now I'm a teacher, I used to pay monthly to Chris and Graham what they'd expected to kind of have, which is nice. I think it kind of sets you up for the real world and understanding how much rent you're going to be paying, or how much you would pay towards your mortgage and things. But yeah, just that I just see it as a normal kind of family. And I think because of the positive experiences I've had, when I'm older, I'd actually like to foster or adopt myself.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Georgia. I think people will get a lot from what you've said. And I think it will give people a really good idea of kind of what to expect and think about sort of moving forward in their fostering journey. So thank you so much for speaking with me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anytime.